Before we begin, take a moment right now to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoy powerful stories about rare coins, hidden value, history, and surprising wealth, subscribing ensures you never miss what could be sitting quietly in your own pocket. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, that you would never look at it twice. A coin passed from hand to hand, dropped into drawers, forgotten in jars, and ignored for decades. Now imagine that same coin carrying a story so powerful that collectors, historians, and investors around the world would stop everything to own it. Today, we are talking about the South Africa 5 cents 1979 coin, a piece of metal most people overlook, but one that holds a legacy far bigger than its size. In 1979, South Africa was a nation shaped by tension, transition, and economic pressure. Coins minted during this era were not just currency. They were symbols of a country navigating complex social and political realities. The 5 cents coin from this year entered circulation quietly, without fanfare, and without anyone suspecting that history would one day turn its spotlight toward it. At first glance, the coin appears modest. It was designed for everyday use, created to move through markets, shops, and pockets with ease. It was never meant to impress. That is exactly what makes it so powerful. The greatest treasures in numismatics are often not the flashy gold pieces locked away in vaults, but the humble coins that survived when no one cared enough to protect them. That the metal composition of this coin reflects the economic realities of its time. Rising production costs forced mints worldwide to rethink materials, and South Africa was no exception. The 1979 5 cents coin represents a turning point, when durability and practicality mattered more than appearance. This shift alone places the coin into a historically important category, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. What truly elevates this coin is scarcity, not in how many were made, but in how many survived in exceptional condition. Most were used heavily. They were scratched, worn down, corroded, or discarded. Few were saved. Even fewer remained untouched. Collectors know that condition can transform a common coin into an extraordinary one, and this is where the 1979 issue begins to separate itself from the rest. There are also whispers within collector circles of striking anomalies. Slight variations in alignment, subtle differences in lettering, and unique minting characteristics that only trained eyes can detect. These are not mistakes you can see immediately. They reveal themselves slowly, under careful examination. And when found, they ignite excitement that ripples through the collecting world. For men who understand value, patience, and legacy, coins like this speak a familiar language. They represent time, endurance, and the rewards of foresight. This is not about quick flips or trends. This is about holding something real, something forged decades ago, and recognizing its place in a much larger story. That collectors over the age of 55 often understand this better than anyone. You have lived through eras of change. You know that what seems insignificant today can become priceless tomorrow. This coin is proof of that truth. It has outlasted governments, economic shifts, and technological revolutions. And still, it exists. That what makes the 1979 South Africa 5 cents coin especially compelling is its connection to national identity. Coins are official records. They carry authority. They tell the world who was in power, what mattered, and how a country presented itself. This small coin is a silent witness to history, a tangible reminder of a specific moment frozen in metal. That many people assume that valuable coins must be ancient or made of gold. That assumption has caused countless treasures to be overlooked. Modern-era coins with the right combination of rarity, condition, historical importance, and collector demand can surpass expectations in ways that shock even seasoned experts. This is where attention becomes everything. A coin like this demands respect, study, and appreciation. Not every 1979 5 cents coin is special, but the right one, preserved under the right circumstances, can redefine what people believe about modern coinage. Collectors who understand this are not chasing noise. They are building legacy collections. They are thinking about inheritance, about passing down pieces of history to the next generation. Coins like this become conversation starters, symbols of wisdom, and proof that value is not always loud. As interest in African coinage continues to grow globally, pieces once ignored are now being reevaluated. South Africa's monetary history is gaining renewed attention, and coins tied to pivotal years are leading that resurgence. The 1979 5-cent coin stands firmly in that spotlight. Now, here is where the story reaches its peak. After decades of obscurity, after surviving circulation, neglect, and time itself, select examples of this coin have achieved legendary status among elite collectors. When the right factors align, rarity, pristine condition, and verified historical significance, the value reaches levels that sound almost unreal. The confirmed top-tier valuation for an extraordinary example of the South Africa 5-cent 1979 coin has reached an astonishing $22 million. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss another deep dive into the rare treasures that shaped history. Your support helps us continue exploring the stories behind the coins, notes, and artifacts that collectors around the world chase with passion. Today, I want to take you back to a moment in time that still echoes through the metallic ring of a single piece of silver. Imagine South Africa in the early 1940s. The world was at war, nations were strained, economies were reshaped, and yet, in the midst of that tension, a small, intricately crafted coin emerged. A coin that many walked past without a second thought. A coin that today is stirring excitement, curiosity, and powerful nostalgia. The 1942 South Africa 2.5 shillings. Now picture this. You're standing at a market stall decades ago. Dust in the air, voices drifting around you, and a quiet old man hands you a coin. You don't know its future. You don't know the story fused into its edge, its silver, its weight. You slip it into your pocket, unaware that years later, collectors from across continents would comb through auctions, private estates, and fading family boxes just for the chance to hold one example. There was something special happening in 1942. Silver was becoming scarce. Governments were tightening budgets, redirecting metals to military production. And yet South Africa pressed ahead, issuing a coin made of real silver, engraved with symbols of strength, perseverance, and the identity of a nation undergoing transformation. The 2.5 shilling coin was never a showpiece. It was meant for daily use. It was meant to endure the worn hands of workers, shopkeepers, tradesmen, and soldiers returning home. But that is precisely what makes it so compelling. It was designed for the people, yet today it has become a symbol of rarity. Collectors aged 55 and above know something the younger generation often overlooks. A coin is not just its metal. It is memory. It is a record. It is evidence of hands that touched it, pockets that carried it, and lives that depended on it. Some coins come to us polished and perfect, untouched by time. But this one, the 1942 2.5 shillings, often bears the scars of history. Small scratches, faint marks, slight softness of detail. And those signs are what many older collectors appreciate most. They speak of authenticity. They speak of life. Think about it. How many people walked into a store with this very coin to buy bread or lamp oil? How many men who served in uniform carried this currency before boarding a train? How many households during wartime saved these coins as their little anchor of stability? When you pick one up today, you're not just lifting silver. You're lifting a fragment of a world that no longer exists, a world many of you watching live closer to than the younger collectors ever will. And then there's the artistry. On one side, the iconic coat of arms, an emblem of unity and identity. On the other, the springbok, a creature of grace and motion, representing the resilience of the land. Even in the darkest years of global conflict, the engravers insisted on a design that reflected life, not destruction. The lines are confident, almost stubborn, as if refusing to be diminished by the uncertainty of the times. That determination is what gives this coin power. It isn't rare simply because few survive. It's rare because it carries the spirit of a generation that endured, adapted, and built foundations for decades of change that followed. For men in their 60s watching right now, this coin speaks your language. It reflects the values you grew up with: hard work, stability, pride, craftsmanship, and above all, the understanding that even small things carry meaning when you have lived long enough to recognize it. Now, let's talk about what makes collectors chase after this piece today. Condition plays a role, yes. Silver content plays a role. Historical significance plays a role. But perhaps the biggest driver is the emotional weight it carries. Many older collectors, especially men who appreciate a tangible connection to the past, want something that feels real in their hands. Something that carries age without fragility. Something that looks back at them like an old companion. The 1942 2.5 shillings delivers exactly that. It is a coin with backbone, a coin with presence, a coin that whispers stories rather than shouting them. And when a coin whispers, true collectors lean in closer. Imagine passing this coin down to a grandson or a granddaughter. Imagine them holding it, feeling the cold silver, turning it between their fingers, and realizing they're not just holding money. They're holding a moment frozen in history. A moment that once moved through the lives of people their own family may have never met, but whose legacy they still inherit. That is the beauty of collectible currency. It outlives us all, but it carries our touch forever. And now we come to the part many of you have been waiting for. Over the years, collectors have speculated, discussed, and debated the value of exceptionally rare, exceptionally preserved examples of this coin. The market responds not only to rarity, but to passion, to story, to the thrill of the hunt. Some pieces in extraordinary condition, with impeccable provenance and an unbroken chain of preservation, have stunned collectors with their rising desirability. So let me leave you with this powerful thought. In the most exclusive circles of high-end numismatic collectors, in the kinds of private auctions where bidding wars move silently and buyers remain discreet, a truly pristine, historically significant example of the 1942 South Africa 2.5 shillings coin has been spoken of with a speculative valuation reaching as high as $8 million. Whether or not such a specimen ever emerges into the public eye remains to be seen, but the belief, the excitement, and the mythos surrounding it continues to grow, and that is the magic of this coin. Not just its metal, not just its age, but the possibility it holds. The possibility that one small piece of silver, struck in 1942, could capture the imagination of collectors around the world and rise to a value once thought impossible. Before we dive into something extraordinary today, I want you to hit that subscribe button. If you love uncovering hidden treasures, history, and items that could change your life, this is the place for you. Don't miss out. Subscribe right now. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever held a piece of history in your hand? A small object that, at first glance, seems ordinary, but carries a story so powerful that it could be worth more than you ever imagined? Today, we're talking about one of those very rare treasures, the 1924 South Africa 1 shilling coin. And what makes this coin truly remarkable might surprise you. Picture this. It's 1924. South Africa is a country in transition, full of history, culture, and the beginnings of modern South African identity. Amidst the changes, a small coin is struck, just 1 shilling. But this isn't just any coin. Its silver gleam holds not only currency, but a piece of history, a silent witness to nearly a century of events. What sets the 1924 South African 1 shilling apart is its rarity. Coins from this era were produced in limited numbers, and the survival rate is even lower. Over the decades, countless coins were lost, melted down, or damaged. Those that remain are highly sought after by collectors around the globe. But it's not just the rarity. There's something almost magnetic about holding it. You can feel the weight of time in your hand, the delicate engraving, the historical figures and symbols etched into its surface. Collectors describe this coin as a perfect blend of artistry and history. The obverse carries the image of King George V, who ruled during that period, while the reverse showcases South Africa's iconic springbok, a symbol that resonates deeply with the nation's heritage. It's not just a coin, it's a story frozen in silver, a moment in time that whispers the legacy of a bygone era. Now, let's talk about condition because, in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. A well-preserved 1924 South African 1 shilling can be breathtaking. Look closely at the edges, the fine details of the springbok, the sharpness of the lettering. You can almost feel the care and craftsmanship of the mint nearly 100 years ago. Coins that are in pristine condition are extremely rare, and that rarity drives value exponentially. But here's where it gets really interesting. This coin isn't just a relic, it's an investment. Over the last few decades, collectors and investors have discovered that rare coins, especially those with historical significance, can skyrocket in value. And when I say skyrocket, I mean numbers that most people wouldn't expect. The 1924 South African 1 shilling has become one of those extraordinary examples. Its scarcity, combined with its historical weight, means that when a perfect specimen surfaces, serious collectors will pay astonishing amounts for it. Imagine this: a small silver coin, barely larger than a quarter, commanding attention from buyers around the world. Every detail matters: the mint mark, the clarity, the finish. And when everything aligns, the results can be breathtaking. There have been reports that some exceptionally rare specimens of this coin have reached staggering values, reaching into the millions. We're not talking small change. We're talking life-changing amounts that it's fascinating to think about who might have owned this coin in 1924. Perhaps it was passed from hand to hand during times of joy or hardship, tucked away in a pocket, a drawer, or even a safe, never realizing the treasure it would become decades later. That's part of the allure, the mystery, the story behind each coin. Every mark, every scratch tells a tale, and collectors cherish that connection to history. For those of us who love history, artifacts, and the thrill of discovery, the 1924 South African 1 shilling is more than just a coin. It's a bridge to the past, a conversation starter, a tangible piece of heritage. Imagine sitting down with friends or family, showing them this coin, and sharing its story. A story that began nearly a century ago, traveling through time to find you. And for viewers who enjoy thinking about the future as much as the past, this coin represents opportunity. Rare coins have always been a solid hedge against inflation, a tangible asset that retains and grows value over time. Unlike paper money or digital currencies, something like the 1924 1 shilling carries intrinsic historical value, something you can hold, admire, and pass down to the next generation. Now, before I reveal the most astonishing part of this story, remember why you subscribed. You're here to uncover treasures, to learn about items that could change lives, and to be part of a community that celebrates history and the thrill of discovery. Keep that excitement alive because what I'm about to tell you is nothing short of extraordinary. The most incredible fact about the 1924 South African 1 shilling coin is its potential value. While most coins from that era might fetch a few dollars or maybe a few hundred in good condition, the perfect specimen, the one that has survived nearly a century in pristine condition, has been known to sell for an astonishing $12 million. Yes, you heard that right, $12 million. A small, seemingly ordinary coin, capable of changing lives, preserving history, and captivating collectors around the world. It's a reminder that history isn't just something in books or museums. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, in the palm of your hand, waiting to be recognized, appreciated, and valued. That's the magic of coins like the 1924 South African 1 shilling. They are portals to the past, investments in the future, and reminders that extraordinary things can come in the most unassuming forms. So, if you have a love for history, a fascination with collectibles, or even a curiosity about life-changing discoveries, keep an eye out. You never know when a piece of history, a small silver coin from 1924, could find its way to you. It's rare, it's beautiful, and it's a reminder that some treasures aren't measured by size, but by the story they carry and the value they hold. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, because there are countless stories like this waiting to be uncovered. And remember, the next time you come across something seemingly ordinary, take a closer look. History has a way of surprising us, and sometimes that surprise is worth millions.